Welcome to the Law of Attraction Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Keith, and today I want to tell you how I got over 13,000 customers into my business with one product. Now, I am not at all an analytical person, a detail-oriented person by any means, but I do know that for a solo entrepreneur with zero team members, having over 13,000 customers with one product is insane. Like that is absolutely mind blowing. And I didn't even realize it. That's the thing, because I'm not analytical. I didn't even realize it until I just decided to go and look. I was like, I wonder how many people throughout, since I launched this came in. Yeah, over 13,000. So that blew me away. And it actually made me want to be a little more analytical and understand like what else am I doing in my business that I'm completely oblivious to. So don't be like me where you don't look into these things. But I want to talk to you today about how you could literally duplicate this with your business, whether you already have a business and you want to add to that, or you want to scale it or grow it, or if you are brand new and you want to start an online business, you want to create passive income, but you feel overwhelmed and you don't even know where to begin. So let's kind of back up a little bit because I want to explain how this all unfolded and sort of like the light bulb that went off in my mind around this. Okay. So I launched Digital CEO a little over 2 years ago. And that's my course where I teach you how to create your own app. And it's since expanded to where I added on how to create your own podcast and how to create online courses. So, what I would hear from people is that they were super excited to get started, to start an app, to start a business, but that they felt super overwhelmed when it came to stopping the course and actually implementing what they learned and building new content. So it wasn't necessarily the system or the setup, because all of that is laid out step by step. I make it super easy for you. It's the actual product that they're offering. So they would ask me, like, where do I even begin? I have so many different ideas. I don't know which one to start with. And it all just seems so crazy, like so overwhelming. Where am I going to find the time to create all this content? Because they would look at my app and see hundreds and hundreds of pieces of content that I built out over time and start comparing. And so then what would happen is it's like they would just feel so overwhelmed that they would be an analysis paralysis and would take no action. So that happened. So then a little bit later, I launched Freedom Tribe, where I show you like the whole system and the strategy and like how I sell my digital offers, because I know the tech can be super overwhelming. And so this kind of walks you through step by step, right? But the light bulb moment with that is you can have the best strategy in the world, the best marketing plan, the best systems, platforms in place. But again, if you don't have a good product, a truly good, solid product, it doesn't matter. And I think that that's what I see a lot in today's online world. You see so many people who grow a large following on social media or start a podcast or whatever. And we get so sucked in to what's the latest trend, what's the latest marketing hack, what's the best way to grow my following. And we pour so much time and effort into that and not enough time and effort into building a truly strong product that is in high demand, that not a lot of people are using. Something that sets us apart, something that works really effectively, really quickly, that people are asking for. So that's a really big problem. And I was seeing that over and over again with people who went through my courses, where it's not the system or the setup or anything else. It's like you creating the content, right? And I can't do that for you. You know, that's something that as a business owner, you have to do, right? So, anyhow, when I was seeing all of that, I started to put myself in the shoes of when I first started out in my business because I remember feeling the same way. I would compare myself to people who had been in business for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And I would beat myself up about it and think, well, they already have all of this content, easy for them. They don't have kids. That was a really big limiting belief of mine. I would say they don't have kids, so they have all this time on their hands. I have kids, like I don't have time to create content. And when I put myself back in my shoes at the beginning of my business and I had all of those thoughts, I thought, okay, what was that point where things changed, where I went from crickets to 13,000 customers? What was the tipping point? And it made me think of this book called The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell that my director made me read. Back when I worked in pharmaceuticals, he made everyone on the team read this book. And basically, the gist of it is in business and really in life, right? There is this fork in the road, this one moment, and it could be like one decision, one opportunity, one action, one creative idea. But there's this one point at where the fork in the road splits and you start to take off. You go from like building, 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 and nothing really happening to boom, all of a sudden it takes off. And he called that the tipping point. And he said, if you could go back in your life and find these tipping points, you start to see patterns and you can start to understand how one small tweak or decision, just doing something a little bit differently, can completely change the path ahead and get you out of this like stagnant state. So I was like, what the hell was the tipping point? And the first thing that comes to my mind is like, obviously, it was the app. When I created the Manifest It Now app in 2021, I remember looking at my husband and saying, like, this is going to change our lives. Like, I never have to go back to my 9 to 5 job. And that happened so quickly. So when I started like reverse engineering it, right? I was like, okay, what was it about the app that was different from everything else I offered? Because the first course that I offered, like before I launched that app, I got zero sales. Zero. Like not even one. There was no interest whatsoever in it. And it was one of those things where like looking back, I'm like, I should have given up. Like why did I just decide to keep going with this? But for whatever reason, intuitively, I just kept going with it. And I'm so glad I did because the app was really when things just completely shifted. And the reason the app was the tipping point and the reason why so many people like it and why it's grown so quickly is because the product inside of it is life changing. Okay, it's unique. It's something very few people are offering. It's something where it requires a level of trust in the person you're buying it from. And it's super easy to implement. Like there's virtually no barrier to entry because there's nothing you have to do. It's the easiest thing in the world. You just press play. That product is subliminals. Now, back at the time when I launched the app, no one really knew what subliminals were. Like, sure, yes, I'm not saying like no one knew what it was, but you didn't really hear about it that often. And you didn't really hear about it in a positive way. It was more like you think of negative subliminal messaging with ads and things like that. So for it to take off that quickly when I had to kind of teach people like what it is and why they need it is just kind of crazy. But that's the thing with subliminals. I looking back, like I didn't even have to sell it or convince anyone that it worked. What I did was I gave out free subliminals and I let the subliminal do all the selling for me because people would try it. And then 2, 3 days later, they're messaging me and they're like, oh my God, I feel amazing. I feel more motivated than I have in forever. I feel like so many opportunities are showing up. And so I didn't really have to do anything. Like I just let them sample it. And then they were asking me, what other ones do you have? Can I put in a request? Can I get a subliminal on this? Can I get a subliminal on that? Do you do custom subliminals? And it just grew from there. And then people started telling their friends about it or their family about it. Like, oh, you're going through a rough time. Well, so was I. And then I started listening to subliminals. Like, you have to check this out. And it just multiplied. That was the tipping point where everything changed. And I think I talked about this in the last episode, but the whole reason that I decided to start using them was because of my experience in the corporate world, where I saw that companies use these in all of their messaging and they're able to manipulate behavior. They're able to get people to change their opinion by using a subtle message that you're not even consciously aware of. So effectively, they're talking to your subconscious mind and getting some sort of result. And so I want to expand on the last episode because I think it goes so much deeper than we even realize. And this is just kind of fun information to know because you can see the wheels turning of like, okay, how can I take this information and use it to my benefit? So if you remember the subconscious mind, it takes in 11 million bits of data every second. Your conscious mind takes in 50. So my question when I first learned that is like, what is the subconscious mind taking in? What does that even mean? Like, there's not 11 million things here. Like, is there what's going on? So there's something called sensory flood. Okay. And so it's where your eyes, your ears, your nose, your sense of touch, all of your human senses, they take in all of this different information, thousands of sound frequencies. Your skin feels pressure and temperature. Your eyes gets all sorts of visual data, right? And then your reticular activating system in your brain is like the gatekeeper. And it decides what's coming in and what's not, like what's coming into your conscious mind. And it does that based on what you believe, what you focus on, what is familiar. It's going to look for things like that and pull that information because it'll say, well, that's useful because she's always thinking about this, or she's always doing this, or focusing on this, or saying this. So that's useful information that the conscious mind needs to process. And then what your subconscious does is it jumps in and it starts sorting things. It likes patterns. It likes that repetition. So it starts sorting through the patterns, the emotions, the stored memories, and deciding what's going to get the final cut and go to your conscious mind, which is insane because this happens like almost instantaneously, right? But this is how we filter multiple times before something actually registers in our conscious mind. Okay, so companies know this. Like you talk to anyone who's in marketing, specifically advertising, and they're going to know all of this. I even remember learning some of this back when I was in college taking business courses, which it's like one of the few things I remember from my college degree. But one of those things was colors. Okay, so for example, the color red can make you feel alert. It could also make you feel hungry and excited. And so fast food chains love it because it signals that hungry cue. So you see it like the fries come in the red box. Like look at the logos of a lot of different fast food places. Blue simulates like this feeling of trust. So if you see a logo or a building that's blue, you kind of like your guard comes down a little bit and you trust it more. And of course, this is all subconscious. Like we are not consciously aware of this whatsoever. And I'm sure there's exceptions to every rule, but overall, it's like this calming, trustworthy feeling. So that's why you see a lot of tech companies and a lot of banks that will use blue. And then when you look at logos and branding, I want you right now, let's do this little exercise. They did this when I was in training in the corporate world, okay? I want you to think of three brands right now. Just think of three popular brands that like immediately come to mind that everybody knows. All right. Now I want you to think back at their logo. And I can guarantee their logo has been the same for decades. You have probably seen this logo over and over and over and over again, like the Nike swoosh, the McDonald's golden arches, the bitten apple in your iPhone, right? And the crazy thing is, like, I remember this was one of the things that they taught us because I worked in the beverage industry. They were like, be a Coca-Cola, don't be a Pepsi. And what they did was side by side, they showed the Coca-Cola logo that never changed. It changed one time where they changed it to Coke. And it did horrible. Sales like started plummeting. People were pissed because they were messing with nostalgia. They wanted the Coca-Cola logo that they saw when they were a kid. And so Coke has pretty much kept the same logo. Pepsi has changed it a million times. And so it's part of this, like, it ties in emotions because you see this logo throughout the years and it's like stable and it doesn't change and it's been there through all your different life changes. And so you're almost like getting this feeling of nostalgia with it, which again, it's all subconscious. It's not like you're consciously thinking like, oh, I love this Coca-Cola logo, right? But it's just subconsciously making you trust this brand and like this brand more. This is a good one, especially if you're kind of like intuitive, because I think it goes so much deeper, but body language. Okay. Think about a time where you have felt really like nervous around someone or you just get like a bad vibe. Probably they're standing with their arms crossed. There's something with their posture that doesn't feel right. But then think of another time where you see someone and they're just so like smiley and glowing and you immediately just feel relaxed, right? And feel safe with them. These are all little subtle subconscious cues that we pick up on. And so again, in marketing, they know this, right? They know like have a Coke and a smile, that there's a reason they say that line, right? Tone of voice. So you could say the same exact thing if you say it in a warm, friendly tone versus a sarcastic tone, it is going to hit completely differently. So even like the pitch of your voice, the depth of your voice, the tone that you use can completely sway somebody towards something or against something. I see this with my kids all the time. They'll be like, I want a sucker. And I'm like, oh, you sure? You sure you want to eat that? Like, really? That? And then it's like, oh, maybe not. And I'm like, oh, look, we have these fresh apples. You want an apple? And they're like, oh, yeah. Right. And it's like I'm swaying their opinion with the tone of voice that I'm using. Background music. Notice how every single store you go in is playing background music. It's very intentional. They're not just picking anything. Grocery stores play very slow music because they want you to take your time and shop longer because you're going to buy more. A lot of like cheaper clothing stores will play really fast music. And if you go in the fitting room, it's really loud. And they do that to rush you so that you don't take forever in the dressing room. You try it on, boom, you go and you buy it. You don't think too long about this purchase. A gym is going to play like more high energy music while people are working out. So there's so many different subtle cues. And it's like you don't even have to use words or necessarily subliminal messaging in the sense that you're like giving a command or an affirmation. It could be music, it could be a frequency, It could be just a repeated phrase that will stick in your subconscious and create change at the subconscious level. Another thing is smell. So, this is a fun little fact. A lot of stores do this, but Disney has different scents in the store, in the park. So, for example, one of them is like a fresh baked cookie smell, and they do that near the places where they sell sweets to come and get you to buy it. But there's another benefit to that. When you smell something like fresh baked cookies, it's going to give you that nostalgic feel. It's going to get to your emotions because you think about fresh baked cookies, you're going to think about baking with your mom or grandma. It has that effect. And so stores and different businesses do this very effectively. So there's just so many different things. Like social media takes it to a whole other level because every time you get a like, you get a heart, you get a positive comment, it's like a little dopamine hit. And your brain is like a slot machine and it wants more and more and more. Wants you to keep feeding it the coins, feed it the dopamine hits. And so it's everywhere we look. And I knew this coming from the corporate world with a lot of these big corporations that are very, very good at marketing. And so I thought, okay, well, how the hell do we counter all of this programming? How do you change the noise if it's everywhere? It's on social media, it's everywhere you look, it's everywhere you are basically in public, but now even in your home with social media. How do we combat that? And that's when I started playing around with subliminals. And I thought if we can manipulate someone to go and buy a product that they wouldn't normally buy, if you could influence someone to like a product that they wouldn't normally like literally taste better, and sway their taste buds, then certainly we can use subliminals for positive outcomes where you're willingly taking on a subliminal message because you want to change your money mindset, for example. And so that's where I started testing them out on myself. It was like that light bulb went out. I started playing around with it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. This freaking works. And it works fast and it works really effectively. And so then, I started testing it out with people that I know and blown away, absolutely blown away. And the thing about it is, up until that point, like I tried everything, right? I was getting into meditation, listening to audible affirmations. But what would happen is like I would roll my eyes and I would think, bullshit. And like I always tell people, the reason I got into the law of attraction wasn't because I was this like super positive, happy go lucky person. I was miserable in my day job and I was desperate for like anything that would help me feel better so that I wouldn't continue this negative spiral. And that's what the law of attraction did. It helped me like focus on something positive. And so when I would hear these like positive audios and affirmations, I would just kind of roll my eyes and think like, yeah, that's great, but the reality is I'm in a job that I hate and I'm not happy and I don't feel confident and I'm having panic attacks. Like that was literally the talk in my mind when I would listen to something like a guided meditation or an audible affirmation. And so when I started listening to subliminals, I noticed that didn't happen because the conscious mind wasn't involved at all. It was like I had a back door to the subconscious, and my conscious mind with an attitude stayed out of it. It didn't have that BS meter that would resist it. Like so many things prior, put me in this state of complete resistance. And so I started playing around with it. Then I started adding in things like theta waves, which is a little hack because the theta brainwave state is when your subconscious is more open to suggestion. They call it the hypnotic state. And so you can play around with different frequencies, different waves, different beats. And amplify it, make it even more effective, and instantly feel this sense of calm or peace. And so it just blew my mind. And I knew that I was onto something. And that was the entire reason why I started the Manifest It Now app. Because I was like, I need a way to store all of these subliminals that I'm creating where people can easily get to them and they don't have to like save a bunch of files and wait for the files to download. And this was just like an easy fix. They could just log in, find the subliminal they want, and press play. And so that was the tipping point. And again, it was like once I knew I had this really good product, I didn't see anyone else doing this. I do see a few people now, but still like nothing compared to like the meditation space, which is so saturated. You just don't see that many people talking about subliminals. And so it's like this unique thing that kind of sets you apart and it works really effectively. You just give them a sample and that does all the selling for you. And then they're going to want more. They're going to want it on different topics. And so what I started noticing is a lot of people reach out to me multiple times a week. Do you do custom subliminals? I want to create a specific subliminal for my one son. I want to create a specific subliminal for my husband. I want to gift a subliminal to my friend. One of my friends is getting ready for surgery. Can you create a subliminal for her? And the problem is, I can't do that for everyone. You know, like there's not enough time to do that. And so then people started asking, like, okay, well, how do you create these subliminals? And why is this subliminal so different from the ones that I hear on YouTube? And so forever, I was talking about creating a course where I would teach people how to create subliminals. And I did create a master class that's inside Digital CEO. And I've had a few people ask, like, well, is that the same as what you're creating now? Yes and no. So the master class that I created is one of 18 lessons in Subliminal Creation Labs. So it's basically like way more in depth where I'm showing you the entire process from start to finish. All of the information about subliminals, about the different waves, the different beats, how to use them, when to use them, energetic prep work while you're making subliminals, how to package and deliver them, how to do that in different ways, templates in order to do that, and then all of the other stuff like the voice effects for meditation audios, the newest thing, which is creating 8D audios, which are like mind bending. They're so good. They instantly put you in this high vibe state. So that's in there, and that's new for me, even. So it just goes a lot deeper. And that it finally clicked with me. And that's the reason I decided to create it. Not only because people were asking, well, how do I make a custom subliminal for myself? But this is the perfect fix for people who want to start a business and they don't yet have that solid product. Or maybe they're still working on their course or working on building out their app and don't have enough content for it. This is a fix for that. Like you can literally take what I'm doing and you can duplicate it, whether it's for personal use or whether you want to turn around and sell these subliminals and start your own business. That is why I decided to do this and finally got off my ass and created the course. So it's pretty cool. I believe in abundance. Like I don't have a scarcity mindset anymore. Because I had a lot of people ask that, like, why are you giving this information away? Like, aren't you worried that you're just creating a bunch of competitors that are going to steal business from you? No, no, I'm really not. I feel like there's more than enough to go around. And I think the world needs more positive subliminal messaging because we know there's a lot of negative messaging all day, every day going on. So I'm not worried about that at all. I share everything, my whole method, like why my subliminals are so effective and work so quickly. I lay it all out in this program. So Here's the deal with this. If you're perking up and you're like, okay, that sounds like something I might be interested in. If you're listening to this podcast on the day it comes out, which is Monday, tomorrow, Tuesday, I am opening the doors to Subliminal Creation Lab, but they are only going to be open for 3 days. Okay. I am just doing a beta test right now. I just want to get enough people in there to test it out and to give me some feedback. Let me know, what am I missing? What should I add? What should I subtract? Like, what do you think of it? The whole 9 yards. So, as a beta tester, you get a massive discount. It's going to be $47 for the entire course. And it's only 3 days that I'm going to be taking beta testers because I don't need a huge group. I just need some people in there testing it out. The next time this opens, the price is not going to be 47. It's going to be higher. So if you are interested, now would be the time to get in because once the beta round is closed, it's closed. Once that $47, the door closes, it's done. It's never going back to that price. So if you're interested in that, I will link in the show notes where to go to get on the wait list. Just go to lawofattractiontribe.com. Right on the front page, it's like the very first button. You can get on the wait list, and then you'll get my free subliminal. It's my newest subliminal, which is called Make 10K Fast. And then you're also going to get the new 8D audio that I've been testing out that I put in the program. It's mind bending. You're going to absolutely love it. So go there. Once the doors open, I will put the link there as well at lawofattractiontribe.com for the actual course. But when the doors close, the doors close. Like, you're not getting in until I open it next time. So go to lawofattractiontribe.com, test it out, get on the wait list, try the subliminal, try the 8D audio. Like I said, I don't really have to sell it to you. Just try it and you'll love it. It's freaking amazing. And then if you think, you know what, I want to try making these myself, then join Subliminal Creation Lab for the beta rounds. You get the best price. And yeah, we'll go from there. But I think that this is going to solve the problem for a lot of you who want custom subliminals, want to start an online business, but feel super overwhelmed. You don't have a good product yet. You're working on it still. This is something you can create literally in an afternoon. I'm not even kidding you. You could sit down, and if you do everything I teach you, you can have your subliminals created in one afternoon. You could launch the same day. That is how easy it is. Okay. So, anyhow, join the course. I would love to get everyone's feedback, see how you like it. And thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next episode.